Hey folks, today we end our discussion on the character trait of joy. If you've been with us the last few weeks, you know we talked about the first cause of joy, and that is the person of Jesus Christ. Then we transitioned to the secondary causes, which I really define more as maintaining what God has put in there. We shared that you must stay true to the model of homeschooling that God's called you to. Everybody will tell you how to homeschool, and some of them are great opinions, some of them just don't fit. You must be true to what God's called you to do. Second one today we'll talk about in a moment, and there'll be other ones that we'll talk about at the ICT convention coming up in just a few days. So if you want to hear more secondary causes, don't miss the convention this year. But today I want to talk about celebrating the moments of grace, the moments of joy that God gives us. I personally call these kisses of grace. Those moments in the day when God just does something sweet, just for that moment that causes us to smile. And so often we just let those go on throughout the day without coming back and celebrating those. For instance, a while back, my youngest daughter, she was doing something and she says, "This just causes my heart to smile." Well, I told my wife that, and then we just celebrated that as a family and talked about how cute that was, and we just had a nice moment of joy over that small comment. One day I was mowing back here with this tree. The grass was about a foot tall by the bean field, and I saw something slither. I thought it was probably a snake. Then I saw a second one, and a third one. I thought, what in the world? And I realized, I bet I ran over a rabbit burrow, and those are little baby rabbits trying to get away. And in a 10-second span of time, here's the process that I went through. Number one, do I do the right thing and rescue these so the cats or another animal doesn't get them? Knowing that if I do that, I'll have to either buy, build, or borrow a rabbit hutch. And then in 6 weeks, I'll have to turn those rabbits back loose into the wild. My girls will cry, and I'll end up getting another rabbit to make up for that. Or do I just let them go out and die? It was a real temptation, I got to say. But I ended up doing the right thing, and I captured as many as I could, 3 or 4, and I put them in a box, and sure enough, I had to borrow a hutch from a neighbor, and then I turned them loose. 6 weeks later, my girls cried, and so I ended up getting another rabbit we have to this day. But that brought them so much joy. And it was a little bit of effort on my part, hardly any expense, but it did take some time. But it was worth the joy that it produced in my children's lives. And may I suggest to you, many times God does these kisses of grace throughout the day, but we homeschoolers, we are so scheduled and we're so intentional and we're serious about what we do, we don't take time to enjoy the journey. When the priests went and ministered in the tabernacle or the temple, they would be dealing with different spices and fragrances. And after they got done that day at the temple or at the tabernacle, they would leave and go back home. And as they walked throughout the marketplace, I can imagine people going, and they smelled that fragrance that still lingered on the priest. And I'm sure they realized, I bet that's a priest who's been in the presence of God today. I pray that we will have the fragrance of joy in the homeschooling journey, so that number one, our kids can smell the fragrance of Christ upon us, and secondly, that other people, maybe potential homeschoolers, can also smell that same fragrance of joy as well. If we do this, I think we'll find the homeschooling journey very, very satisfying. Don't forget, after the person of Jesus Christ, way before the right curriculum, the best thing you can do is establish a spirit of joy in your homeschooling journey. This is Kirk Smith with ICHE's Take 5.